Bonjour, mes amis. We're going to talk about the most exciting grammar topic ever, object pronouns. Okay, commençons. So, we're going to talk about direct objects and indirect object pronouns. There's a lot more than that, but direct and indirect is just enough to get us started. Here's a list of verbs that take direct object pronouns in French, but it would be a little different in English. For example, we've talked about attendre, to wait for. That would take an indirect object in English, but in French, the for is this guy is built into the meaning of attendre, so we don't have to worry about it. Here's a few more that should look familiar. Oh, there they are. So let's talk about where do these object pronouns go. Hopefully we are okay with which one we need, but now we have to think about different situations and how the pronoun will move in a sentence. So the most important and basic rule is that it goes before the conjugated verb. Okay, whichever verb is conjugated, the spelling is changed to match the subject, that's where my object pronoun is going to go. So par exemple, je vois Monique. Monique, elle est féminin. Alright, I want to say I see her. Remember, that's the point of a pronoun. It takes the place of the noun, it shortens our sentences, and makes it so we don't have to say Monique's name 7 times. So, je la vois. We picked la because Monique is feminine, and it goes right in front of the conjugated verb, which in our case is voir. So things get sort of tricky in the passé composé, but if you remember the basic rule, before the conjugated verb. So in our case, in the passé composé, the conjugated verb is going to be our helping verb. 99% of the time, it's going to be avoir, because être verbs, they don't really have direct object pronouns. So, je vous marque. Remember, what do we need to replace marque with? We want to replace it with le, parce qu'il est masculin. Où est le verbe conjugué? Where is the conjugated verb? Right here in my form of avoir. So I got to put the le in front of it. Make it L apostrophe because of the vowel sound here. Now here's an example with an indirect object pronoun. Okay, j'ai parlé à Marc. That key à there tells us I need an indirect object pronoun. Still goes in the same place. Je lui ai parlé. Je l'ai vu. Je lui ai parlé. Alright, one extra little step. Whenever I have a direct object pronoun, okay, I have to make sure I make agreement. So, je vous ai mis, je l'ai vu, aimé, elle est féminin, okay, so I put the E here. One thing that sometimes confuses students, they want to take a look at the subject and decide if we make agreement, alright, but that's not what we're doing, we're looking at the direct object. Okay, so Amy, elle est féminin. So if a boy were to say this sentence, a girl, a whole bunch, it doesn't matter. It's all about Amy, and she is féminin. So that's why we need the E at the end. Here's another example. J'ai acheté les stylos. I bought some pens. I bought them. I need les because stylo is plural. It goes in front of my conjugated verb avoir, et. So, je les ai achetés. And because the stylo is plural, I added an S. So this agreement matches my object pronoun. Oh, récrivez au passé composé. Oh là là, check it out. J'ai mis la lettre dans la boîte. Le facteur a pesé le colis. Tu as vendu les bijoux. Nous le cherchons. Or nous avons cherché le courrier. Elle a adoré cette montre. That was super easy, right? Sure. Now, if we were to use some object pronouns with these guys, okay, check it out. What am I going to replace la lettre with? La. So it becomes je l'ai mise because the letter is feminine. Here, I guess it shouldn't be facteur, should it? It should be the postier. The postier l'a pesé. Coller is masculine. Alright, so no agreement necessary. You sold the jewelry. Tu les as vendus. Plural here. Add the S here. Nous avons cherché. We went looking for the male. Nous l'avons cherché. Elle a adoré cette montre. Elle l'a adoré. Oops, I don't think you can see that. Oh well. Alright, now we're going to talk about things change a little bit when I have a command, when I have an imperative. What happens is it actually goes to the end. Check it out. Regarde la télé, regarde la. Throw that pronoun right at the end of the sentence. If you're using me or moi, me changes to moi and te changes to toi. So if I want to tell everybody to listen to me, which of course I never have to do in class because you are all so attentive, écoutez-moi. See how it goes right at the end? Yes, you have to have the hyphen there. No getting out of it. It's wrong. Alright, so porter les gants. What will we need to replace the gloves with? Les. So it will be porter les. Give the money to Mark. Donne-le à Mark. Achetons la casquette. Let's buy the baseball hat. Achetons-la. Goes right at the end. Of course, when we have a negative command, guess what? Back to the regular place, normal place it was. So, ne regardez pas la télé, ne la regardez pas. If you remember reflexive verbs, when we were doing commands with reflexive verbs, the same thing happened. We would put the object here, the, regarde-toi, look at yourself, or rasez-vous, shave yourselves. It would go here, and when I make it negative, it would go right back in front of the verb ne vous rasez pas, for example. So ne portez pas, don't wear the gloves, becomes ne les portez pas. Ne donne pas l'argent à Marc would become ne le donne pas. And n'achetons pas la casquette would become ne l'achetons pas. Now it's kind of cool if we take a look at number 2. Eventually we're going to learn how to replace Mark too. We'll have 2 object pronouns. We got a direct and an indirect. So ne le lui donne pas. Good times ahead. I know you can't wait. Alright, last situation we're going to deal with is infinitives. Alright. Oh, look at it bouncing. Woohoo! What you got to remember is that if you see an infinitive, which remember is an unconjugated verb, so check out regarde, here's my infinitive, right? It's not conjugated, it ends in ER, or IR, or RE. When we have an infinitive, okay, it goes right here, in between the conjugated verb and the infinitive. I'm going to watch the TV, je vais la regarder. And the reason is because we want to put this object as close as we can to the verb that's being quote-unquote modified by it. It's not I'm going to it, it's I'm watching it. So we want to put the it as close to the regarder as possible. Ooh, bouncing in another word. I want to visit my friends. Je veux les visiter. Once again, it's not that I want my friends. That's really creepy sounding, alright? I want to visit them. Visiter. So I put the les as close to visiter as I can. Oh my gosh, look at all these fun examples. Je vais les porter. Je veux l'acheter. Il va la désirer. Nous pouvons les signer. And the last one would be le banquier va le donner à Marc. Alright, remember our indirect object pronouns? You know them. We don't have to talk about these. So, good times. Anyway, here's some fun examples of indirect object pronouns. That's how a little bit about where these pronouns go. Give you a little reminder, and hopefully it'll help you out with your devoir, which I know you're doing right now. Au revoir. Ciao. I forgot one last thing I want to remind you about is that there are some of these verbs that take indirect objects in French, and they wouldn't in English. Okay? Check it out. How will you know? You'll see an a. Obéir à, offer à, désobéir à, parler à, répondre à, téléphoner à, ressembler à. Anytime you see an a, okay, it has to be indirect in French. A little different. Alright, maintenant je suis fini. Au revoir.